Narrative breakers, nothing new, same as before. Mainstream media is defending a alleged terrorist. We have the name of the individual. We'll be exposing the details that we found out about him that did the unthinkable up in New Orleans. And he's also an alleged ISIS sympathizer, which everything but confirms that it is a terrorist attack. The mainstream media don't want to admit it. We have reached full peaks of parody in this reality in America.
We begin with this really tragic breaking news out of New Orleans this morning. 10 people are dead and at least 30 others are injured after a vehicle drove into a crowd in the French Quarter. Emergency officials say it happened overnight near Canal and Bourbon Street. You can see the scene right there. A lot of police activity overnight. We've been seeing ambulances, you see on your screen right there. Truly a frightening scene, as you can imagine, a number of New Year's revelers out and about on this New Year's Day, early morning, and then waking up to this news. The latest that we have from the New Orleans Ready, their emergency alert system, is that their 8th district, they're working on a mass casualty event. That is how they have described it so far. And again, we got that news just a matter of moments ago that at least 10 people have been killed and dozens more were injured. We're also learning some more information.
So the individual in question, his name, he's a 42-year-old named Shamsud-Din Bahar Jabbar. He's the one that's accused of carrying the attack. It's this, I guess I could say, he looks like an Arabian type black guy. He has melanin in him. But what makes it interesting that he was found to have IEDs, explosive ordnance, which without a doubt would make this an alleged terrorist attack, because he was not only going to plow into people, he was going to start explosions. Now, this is an individual that has been confirmed to have come from Mexico with the intentions of harming American people. Now, as of shooting this video, we do have the name, and of course the name doesn't sound an American, but no proof that this dude is a immigrant that immigrated to America. Although he has an immigrant type name, we can't be racist and assume that he immigrated to the United States. But if he did immigrate to the United States, it just further validates the things that Americans are afraid of, that we have people coming into our country that don't respect us, that somewhat resent us, and they live with us, and that makes a lot of people afraid. To start the new year up with this, it tells President Trump exactly what we need to focus on if it is an immigrant. In addition to this, we have a Tesla truck that is burning outside the Trump building and recently exploded. People believe it's an omen of things to come. It has to be bad because Eric Trump made a post about it. Now, I found that interesting because it's one thing for the Trump Hotel Twitter account to make a post, but have Eric Trump make a post about it is weird. So I feel like things are going on, but it's only so much we can say right now. Without validation, we would just be pushing misinformation.
From eyewitnesses who have described some of the scenes, frankly, and some of the horror and panic after a vehicle slammed into the crowd. That's the word from some of the eyewitnesses. Kevin Garcia, 22 years old, spoke to CNN shortly after this incident. He said, "All I seen was a truck slamming into everyone on the left side of Bourbon Sidewalk. A body came flying at me," he said, adding that he also heard gunshots being fired. That's again from Kevin Garcia speaking with CNN just a little while ago. Another witness from Shreveport, Louisiana, Whit Davis, told CNN the incident happened while she was at a nightclub on Bourbon Street. Everyone started yelling and screaming. This is according to Whit Davis, running to the back. And then we basically went into lockdown for a little bit. Then it calmed down, but they wouldn't let us leave. That's again from an eyewitness. This is Whit Davis from Shreveport, Louisiana, who said that she was there as this happened earlier this evening. You can see some of these frightening images on your screen of just a tremendous amount of law enforcement present. Again, on Canal and Bourbon Street, again from Whit Davis telling CNN, "When they finally let us out of the club, police waved us where to walk and were telling us to get out of the area fast. I saw a few dead bodies they couldn't even cover up and tons of people receiving first aid." Again, that stands with the information that we were learning. Again, just in the past really 30 minutes or so, we learned that at least 10 people were killed and dozens more were wounded. We actually have some emergency audio from the emergency officials and the radio sound from the incident. I'm going to play it right now just so our viewers can take a listen.
Communications to Engine 29 and
Very
all
sad
units
stuff.
heading
This is
towards
horrible.
Canal and Bourbon. We're going to move to 5 Road 2. You're responding to a mass casualty incident. A vehicle ran through a crowd of people. There's multiple injuries, multiple casualties. They need you at Canal and Bourbon.
And again, we're following this breaking news, a tremendously troubling story out of New Orleans this morning. We're learning that 10 people are dead, at least 30 others are injured after a vehicle drove into a crowd in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Of course, the very famous, very populated, you can imagine, area, especially on New Year's Eve, going into the early morning hours of New Year's Day. I believe we have CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe joining us now. Andrew, I know that you're coming to the story fresh, and we're all learning information as it comes in right now. But again, just knowing that, as far as we know, a car drove into a crowd of people, killing at least 10. Andrew, give me your first thoughts. I mean, we've seen this type of incident in other parts of the world over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we certainly have, Danny, and it's because of those other experiences with similar mass casualty events that we have to kind of, at this point, really keep our minds open.
Why does it fear these things always keep happening around January? I don't know if a lot of people know this. January the 6th is called the Day of the Dead. It's very interesting. I believe, if I'm correct, that January 6th is the day that most people die across the world. Now, the ramifications of that itself is kind of odd when you think about how we get our elections certified on the 6th of January. Super weird, right? But it always appears that some type of death ritual of some sort happens at the beginning of every January. I don't know. But nonetheless, beyond all of that, we are in the year of the snake, which is the year of the occult. So we can expect to see some oddities that's happening throughout the year. But there's nothing odd about people that don't represent your country coming to your country and becoming terrorists. That's pretty on brand for what happens, which is why we need better vetting processes. And also, the borders in New Orleans, they confirmed that they were already trying to pretty much replace the barricades to prevent things like this happening. Something else interesting. Ford Motor Company was hacked yesterday on Twitter. Started pushing all this pro-Palestine BS. Next thing you know, a Ford drives into everyone, causing this mass casualty event in New Orleans. Just strange coincidences. I mean, of course, that has nothing to do with Ford, and of course, it has nothing to do with the Twitter account. But it is strange how many coincidences we're having at once. It feels like, although we're in 2025, we're entering it with all the juice that we built up in momentum from 2024. So it isn't like this is a great reset of things in 2024, but I feel like it's fueling the fires that started to burn in 2024.
Any possibility. I think first and foremost, of course, the first responders are trying to get an accurate assessment of the injuries and the fatalities and to tend to the people on scene. And that alone is a massive undertaking. Just getting the right assets to the scene can be very challenging in a place like New Orleans. Tough to move around there. You've got a lot of people, a lot of vehicles, a lot of potential obstructions. So they want to get as many ambulances and EMTs and medical personnel, fire personnel into that place as they can to just assess the damages and the injuries to people. But as you mentioned, we've seen in just in the last couple of months, and specifically thinking of the Christmas market attacks in Germany, that there are sometimes that incidents like this are intentionally created. Now, we don't know if that's the case with this. It could very well be someone who was incapacitated or intoxicated or something, went the wrong way with their vehicle, reacted terribly, and caused this by mistake. And that's probably how folks on the scene are thinking about this.
The thing is, they refuse to call this person a terrorist, which is why I have the title of this video. It's constantly sympathizing with these individuals. And it's crazy. They will do whatever they can to defend people that's harming American people. And it's not because I believe they're just completely heartless and they don't care about Americans. Of course, they care about their check balances more. But they've set a narrative that only Republicans are criminals, only Republicans are terrorists. If they've tried to create a caricature that a terrorist is a white supremacist in 2025, when you have these individuals come plow through the public like they do, and they're not a white supremacist, it pokes hole into their narrative. So they have to ignore it until they hope it goes away. But things like this aren't going away because the life and safety of Americans is at stake.
You have to keep in the back of your mind the possibility that this could have been an intentional event. Someone who was
Look at that.
in the act of
They are literally defending the guy that killed Americans. They're saying it's possibly was intentional. He had a ISIS flag. The dude's radical. Come on, man. The fact that media are constantly defending criminals while telling us, and I'm sorry, no disrespect to Floyd family, they pushed George Floyd up like he was the second coming of Christ. You cannot praise one criminal and then sit here and ignore the other. You need to treat both as they are. Treat these people as content of their character. This motherfucker just killed 10 plus people, injured over 30. And you want me to sit here and question if he did it on purpose? The gaslighting from our media should be met with fines. These people should be getting fined for pushing this misinformation, this propaganda, and this amount of division, because it only just infuriates you. Who wants to start the New Year's off finding out their mainstream media that they're supposed to trust is defending an individual that killed their damn family? Because that's how raw it is, that's how disgusting it is, and that's how it need to be spoken about.
Test or some with some sort of terrorist purpose. Again, we don't know that here yet. We haven't heard anything about the perpetrator of this mass casualty event. But folks on the scene have really got to keep an open mind as to what caused this and whether or not there are any other threats that we need to be concerned about.
Well, and it's interesting. I appreciate you saying that and kind of, setting the stage for us that we're still learning quite a lot about this particular incident, and there's still quite a lot we don't know. But again, you look at that Christmas market attack back in Germany, that, as we're learning, seemed to truly be intentional. But it was interesting. I was here in New York back on Christmas, and there was a story of a taxi cab hitting a couple of pedestrians, and it turned out that was, as you noted in the realm of possibilities, that was someone who, according to police, was having a medical episode. I imagine those are two examples of the challenge of what law enforcement officers are looking at with something so terrible like this, and that it could either be, it could be anything at this point. That's really the situation. Andrew, I was also curious. I was describing some eyewitness interviews that CNN got just a little while ago, and I wanted your take on this because one person said that they thought that they might have even heard gunshots in the aftermath of this car driving through. Now, obviously, in chaos, you can hear a lot of things.
Now, narrative breakers, I want you to pay attention to how he said and how they're trying to downplay this by pretty much abusing the witness statement. They're saying a witness saying they thought they heard gunshots. I tell you what, if this person was white, I'm being real, they would claim, this is the way you sell things. They would say, we have reports of gunshots being told. We have possible reports of multiple gunmen, which is horrible. But the way they downplay it, they try to make it seem like it's just one person that think they heard gunshots and it could possibly not be true. Man, wording is so important in mainstream media. And that's why I said if people understood just 12% of how much these people manipulate us, nobody would be watching these people. Even the way that they give us these clickbait titles for their articles and the truth of the article be 3 paragraphs down, that's intentional. They intentionally put the truth way down there so people can push out articles, push out the headlines, while not understanding that the entire article debunks what the headline says. They can legally do that. It's manipulation. It's disgusting. And these people, they don't care about Americans. They care about the narrative that they can get Americans to believe and follow.
But what would that potentially tell you if that were in fact the case, as a witness told us just a little while ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, obviously you want to hear what any witnesses have to say. You want to record all those statements right off the bat. But investigators know that eyewitness testimony in the middle of an attack or an incident like this can very frequently be kind of off base. And so you got to be very careful before you start drawing conclusions about whether or not something like that happened. It's very, very frequent that really most mass shootings, you'll have a couple of eyewitnesses who will say there were two shooters instead of one, or, you know, they were shooting in two different locations. And when we sort through all that after the fact, we come to find out that that was not the case, and that people sometimes mishear things and they react very strongly to things that might be the sound of gunshots. So we don't know yet, but we do know if you think about intentional acts like this one, and the Christmas market attack in Germany is the most recent, but there have been very many of these back across time. There's been, I think, probably at least 3 Christmas market attacks in Germany that I can think of in the last 10 years or so. We've had attacks in the United States with vehicles in large crowds. You remember Saifullah Saipov, who drove a rental truck up the West Side Highway and onto the pedestrian park there, and used it to run over people. So, and in some vehicle attacks, I'm thinking of some in the United Kingdom several years ago, the attackers abandoned the vehicles and then continued their attacks on foot with knives or firearms, things like that. So it is a possibility, but again, we're really far from that. What we have is just the word of one eyewitness, hasn't been corroborated. We don't have any reporting on individuals with gunshot injuries at this point. So those are the sorts of things that investigators will want to see to try to corroborate that testimony or rule it out. And I should also say, Danny,
or rule it out. Pay attention to that. They desperately hope that this isn't a terrorist attack. They desperately hope there's no gunshots. They desperately hope there were no bombs. But the clip after this will prove that it's literally a terrorist attack.
In the age of
like there's no way to hide
coverage pretty much everywhere. So I'm quite sure investigators are going back and identifying cameras that could provide relevant video to this attack and trying to trace back exactly kind of what led to it and where the perpetrator came from, how they drove, and just sort of piece things together in that way.
Good morning. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still.
Now, this is very important. This is the mayor of New Orleans going to break down how they found explosive devices and the other details that have led people to believe that this is a terrorist attack. As you could see, the tweet that was before this, it confirmed the identity and all but confirm it's a terrorist. Yet mainstream media will defend this person tooth and nail while vilifying a white conservative student at a school for smiling with a Trump hat. Do you guys remember that? I do. They treated that young man as if he was a damn terrorist just because he was smiling at a Native American that was fucking with him. I'm tired of the media, man. It's unreal. And they're defending a real terrorist.
Under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here. What I'm asking at this time are prayers for those who have lost their lives in the city of New Orleans due to this tragedy.
Last night, we had over 300 officers out here. And because of the intentional mindset of this perpetrator who went around our barricades in order to conduct this,
went around the barricades. So you're still trying to figure out if it was not intentional, and that's to the mainstream media. This is the disgusting BS that they push.
He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. Because of the nature and the indices that we have on the scene, and we have enough information that the FBI will be taking over this investigation. And with that, I am going to be asking, this is the Assistant agent in charge. This is Agent Duncan, Special Agent Duncan, and she has taken over this case on behalf of us and the FBI. As always, we will be in partnership with all of our partners. But Agent Duncan, if you want to have a few words for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning.
Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this chat. Pay attention to this queen right here. DEI queen. She gonna expose it.
Alethea Duncan. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge.
I'm just kidding. She ain't DEI. I just wanted to piss people off. Not every person of color that's in position is DEI. Some of us still do earn our positions.
For FBI New Orleans. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event.
Look, she is a DEI queen. I'm sorry.
What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices.
So you have improvised explosive devices, yet it's not a terrorist attack. But you could have college students that's white smile at Native Americans and be deemed terrorists. Check. I am so freaking fed up of mainstream media. I hope this freaking just completely ends the mainstream media. They are actively defending terrorists.
That was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street, specifically from Canal Street to St. Anne. That is my ask. Once again, stay away from Bourbon Street, Canal Street, all the way to St. Anne until we can figure out what.
Nothing new. They're constantly defending freaking criminals, villains, terrorists. The worst people in our country are the people that's the heroes of the left. It's almost as if they need these individuals to cause chaos. That way people can get back on their knees and beg for Democrats to come and fix it all. That's the reality they're trying to set. That's the precedence they're trying to have. I reject it. It's BS. We need to call the media out. We need to catch them when they're trying to manipulate us in their wording and expose it for what it is. Happy New Year to everyone. It's January the 1st. Appreciate your support. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to go into this new year together. Although we coming in with some destruction and chaos, we will persevere. Click the notification bell to stay updated, and we're going to keep this moving. Until the next narrative is to be breaking.